Good morning.
Morning.
All kinds, right? All right, a few things to discuss. Deb got into the set-off thing at the state, and there was about 30-some accounts out there, is what she found. So we have a decision to make. Do we just leave them in set-off, and I'll go through and make sure that there's no deceased patients and that type of stuff still on the list, because it hasn't been looked at for at least the 2 years I've been here. I believe there wasn't a billing policy back when those were put into set-off.
Okay.
So we can just leave them in set-off like they are, or we can process them under the new collection policy, which would be, all those would be sent to collection because they're so old. So they would remain in set-off just like they are, plus they would be turned over to collections like we do today.
This is Kansas set-off, right? Are we getting anything from Kansas set-off?
Once in a great while we'll get something.
And when I visited with, her name was Chris, and I explained that you were sending them to collections rather than going through the set-off program, and she said, you can use both.
Right, that's what I just asked, if
Oh.
we want to do both or not.
Okay, so I didn't know if you were aware of that, and she was really helpful. She said, and I told him that you were our new EMS director, and she said, oh, just have him call me and I'll visit with him about that if that's what you want to do.
So that's really up to you guys. You know, I included this time.
Okay.
That's our collection performance, and
Okay.
and if you want to table it, like I said, we haven't done anything with it for at least 2 years, so there's no big rush. We just have identified that there's 30-some accounts out there.
My opinion is that Kansas set-off probably does as good as anything, don't they? Get me?
Actually, their performance has been better.
Okay.
You know, set-off is only for Kansas residents. So once they move out, there's no collection activity going on unless we put them into ARSI. That would be one of the bigger differences. You know, Kansas set-off is only tax return based, so they don't actively go after accounts or garnish wages or any of that type of stuff, which a collection agency does.
Do you know what the total is on the 30 accounts?
No, I don't. I can add those up.
Okay.
Back.
Okay, that would be good to know. Because they're going to take a certain percentage, I would assume.
Yes.
What is that? Is it a 30% or?
No, they're not 30. Let me see what this says on here. Well, this is a little bit confusing. Percent fee for 2015, it looks like the ones I collected on is 28%. 2014 was 33% for an average of 30. And some, I believe the fee structure, it is a variable fee structure, depends on how far they have to go into the collection process to get that. If it just takes a phone call, the fee schedule is a lot less.
Okay.
If it takes an attorney to get involved, it's more.
Right.
So I think it's a variable fee structure.
Okay.
But I can get your totals for set off, and I can get the actual fee schedule if you want to see that for ARSI.
Is your phone number on the They're in Wichita, is that correct?
Yeah,
City?
the Charge of Dodge, one or the other.
Okay.
We've got several offices to that facility.
Well, any way you can get collected on these accounts, I think is a good thing, so you think this is gonna be better than Kansas set off? I don't have a problem with that. What about you, Ed?
It would be in addition to, we'd still leave them at set off, and we would turn them over to ARSI. So any payments we get with set off, they have a web portal, I go in and I just make an adjustment on their end.
Okay. And does the ARSI get a percentage, say a person owes $1,000, say Kansas set off pays $250, are we gonna have to pay ARSI 30% of the $250 if they take over this and they're trying to collect it?
I believe so, because we had a payment go through where somebody settled their account
And, okay.
and on their own, and that they did take out the fee for that. Because it was a nightmare trying to reconcile it, that's fine.
Okay. Thoughts?
Collect every day and get the money.
I mean, I agree with Ed on that.
Okay, we will take those accounts, and if they qualify, we'll send them to ARSI too.
Okay.
Me being off call in June, explanation. I think that has been, we had actually it was a question raised by somebody here at the courthouse the other day when I was up here. And I talked to my staff about it, and there was some questions, so I want to get that cleared up. When I'm in the office as director, I'm still taking call, I'm still going on the ambulance. Nothing there has changed. It is when I'm not in the office.
When you're at home and not more than 5
Home
minutes away.
meetings more than 5 minutes away. That's the thing. It's not like I'm not going on any ambulance calls at all. So I wanted to make sure and get that clarified, that's what I meant. When I'm more than 5 minutes out, I can't.
Reed, I
So-
had a question. In order to get you certified to train, what is the projected cost on that to get you completely where you can train EMTs? Are we looking at
Most-
7,000?
Oh, heavens no.
Okay.
Most of that should be grant funded.
Okay.
So cost of the county, if it's more than $1,000, it would be amazing.
Okay.
I really don't think there's going to be hardly any cost except maybe, I'll take the truck, so we really don't have any mileage other than gas to go to those classes. Maybe a meal or two if it's an overnight deal would be basically the cost, because we can apply for the same grant money to teach an instructor as we can to teach an EMT.
Right. And how long, when you do become certified as an instructor, how long do the EMTs, or how many hours do they pay back the county for their education?
EMTs have to pay back 240 hours minimum within 2 years. That's a state stipulation.
And what about your EMTIs, or your basics?
The first responders, hopefully we don't do any more first responder classes is what we're hoping.
Okay. Do we have any interest, have you been approached by anybody that wants to do an EMT program?
We have a list that we keep there at the office, yes.
How long would it take you to get your training done?
I want to be done by fall of next year is when I want to teach my first class. So usually the September, October time works the best of 2017.
And that, where would that be at? Would that
Here.
be in, okay, is like Gary Winters teach that, or who teaches that?
Right now, to teach me?
Yes.
No, that I've got to travel to.
Okay.
Usually the community colleges, there's a couple community
Say
colleges.
Colby?
No, it's going to be farther than that. Either Barton, I know usually has, Garden usually has, and there's 3 stages to that. You got to go to training officer 1, training officer 2, and then instructor coordinator.
Do you have to have somebody oversee you for a certain amount of time?
For that first class, yes, I have to have a mentor.
And what is a mentor on?
I have no idea. I think we paid, I'd have to go back. When Dee went through this, I think we paid Gary Winter, I'm going to guess between $6,000 and $8,000
Okay.
to be a mentor.
And would he be able to be a mentor again?
I haven't reached out to anybody.
Okay. I want to make sure.
I know he's around, I know, around doesn't mean available. He's around, Steve Everett's around, Candy and Colby's still around. Those would be the three.
Did Dee not finish up with hers? Because I thought she had gone to do that instructor training.
She went, she taught her first class, and when she went to apply, she didn't have all the requirements met to get certified.
Oh, okay.
So then she had to, how did that work? She had to pay back the county for that grant. So she was grant funded too.
Okay. Well, we're just trying to ask the questions so we can.
Oh, sure.
So, I have a question. If we were able to get some volunteers from, say, Goodland to help until the new year, or until we can figure out what we're going to do with the budget, would that make it to where we will be okay to not do an option because if we can't afford it until we can plan for it?
I'll just be real honest. I've had 2 volunteers resign call.
Okay.
And I
Has
know,
that been since the meeting?
yeah. And then I had my two, I'm full-time, and then I've got 2 full-time grant funded positions. And I know those 2 grant funded positions have also been offered employment outside of EMS. So I'm beginning to get a little concerned.
Well, I would like to.
I don't see how, I mean, unless there was a bunch of them.
I think there's a possibility of 3 to 4 from Goodland.
If they can fill in as,
Okay.
you know, it would be a lot of hours. Trying to get 3 people to cover, 3 volunteers to cover 3 full-time shifts.
Okay. Well, we want to keep everything local, so we're trying to do it within, if the budget doesn't look like we can do that very quickly, we want to keep you guys, so we're working to try to do everything we can, so.
I do know that one of these full-time grant positions that has the offer, I've talked to them about if they would be interested if there was a full-time EMS position also, and they're kind of waiting around for that to see if there is.
Okay.
I've also talked to a paramedic from the area that would be interested in full-time also, so.
Somebody that would move here?
Mhm.
Good. All right, that completes my questions that I had.
But those are full-time.
But you can also go more out for a paramedic because there's higher classification, correct?
He can be billed out at my rate, yes.
Okay.
The advanced and the paramedic are the same rate as far as billing.
Okay. Did you have any questions?
Pretty much covered.
Okay. Reed, what else did you have?
Okay, sales accounts. Oh, real quick, credit card status, Deb?
We discussed that in length this morning,
Okay.
right? In the process, we discussed a policy and procedure that Nicole is revising, and we nailed down some more questions we had this morning on the acquisition of
Yeah, I
cards.
think
Good enough, it's in the works.
Yeah, we're almost there for sure.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I covered the staffing issues, and really the only thing left I have is, at the meeting on Friday, it was mentioned that we had taken in $17,000 worth of transfers in 2015. That number wasn't accurate, and the reason why that number wasn't accurate is because historically the Treasurer's Office has not kept track of transfers versus calls. It's just been a lump sum.
Okay.
When we did the grant, that was a requirement that we keep track of transfers. So she started to keep track of transfers, and that's only tracking for 2 months.
Okay.
What happened is she determined that she was tracking it based on my numbers, and she says, well, we're dual entering both of these, you just keep track of it. So I went back and I totaled all that up. That's actually, we brought in $88,000 so far
And that's in 2
in
months?
2015. That's in the year
In the year?
2015
Okay.
for transfers.
That's-
In 2013, and I think this is an important number, we have to talk about revenue potential.
Okay.
And when, to me, transfers are revenue potential. It's kind of like when you go and you buy a cow. And you hope that cow is going to have a calf every year. That cow is revenue potential for you. Now, does that cow have a calf every year? You hope so, but sometimes it doesn't. Once it has that calf, might be a sick calf, so you get a lot of money into it, and it really doesn't make you money in the long run. That's how I look at transfers for us. So in 2013, the year before I became director, we took 11 transfers that year. We billed, these are estimated numbers, $26,000 for 2013. In 2015, we took 74 transfers and we billed $196,000. That's where your revenue potential lies. You didn't have hardly any revenue potential in 2013. You had a lot of revenue potential in 2015, of which we've receded 88,000 of that. And at the next meeting, I'll show you the breakdown where all the rest of that money's at. Some of it's still pending insurance. I think there was like $15,000 or $20,000 still pending insurance. Some of it's going to be in collections. Some of it's going to be payment plans, and some of it's going to be write-offs from insurance companies. But to me, that's what's important for the EMS department. What we've done in the last 2 years is we've created a bunch of revenue potential that didn't exist before. So what Dolores is going to do is she's taking my documentation for this roughly $88,000 and she's going to do a transfer for 2015. So it officially is on the books as transfer income. So if that report ever gets ran again, it'll be accurate. I just wanted to clarify that because
That's good.
I was shocked myself. I was like, we had to do better than that. So that's all I have on my list today.
Okay.
Read on the call time requirements, are those subject to regulations of the Board of Emergency Medical Services, or are those statutory? They're regulations from the board?
Yes.
Okay.
We have to average a response time of 5 minutes,
Okay.
is what it says. I can get that for you if you want it.
No, I'll find it. That's
Okay.
okay. It's a good experience for me. Thank you. Just wanted to make sure I was looking at the right regulatory agency.
Yes,
so.
it's them.
Okay.
I didn't get all the changes, but this is
Okay.
what we went over.
And I emailed.
No, I looked at this,
Yeah,
yeah,
and I
this
emailed
is
it
the
out
same
again.
one.
Yeah.
And
Added
they've
just a few things.
found a bank now, so I think we're super
You
close.
know, maybe,
Awesome. That'll be a lot better. Great.
If not, then that's fine.
You were, which,
I just wanted to show him what we had him through PMT.
on that one?
Yeah. Let's see.
And he's, as a
Yeah.
department head, he's seen that preliminary procedure.
Yep, and I
Okay.
just
The credit
emailed the revised one out so they all know that we're going to be formally discussing that at the next meeting.
Okay.
So.
Okay, good.
Let me know how this ARSI conversation goes.
Okay.
Good.
Okay.
Anything else?
That's it.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Does anybody in the audience have anything, Ryan?
Betty has a question.
Okay.
I just asked if the tax sale was still being.
I'm working on it, literally starting from scratch. Okay,
I
but
did-
it's a priority.
We were under the impression it was going a lot further, but that wasn't the case. Sorry.
So it is. Here's the thing: I have two other matters that are more important on that, and those deal with child in need of care cases involving some child neglect issues, and then getting our criminal case caught up because there was a backload, and the tax sale is the third priority. So I'm working on it. It's just, to be honest, it's a third on a list of 3 things, and I've almost got the other 2 caught up.
With this time that has passed since the original conversation, have people come in and paid any?
Yes, there has been. Mhm. And I mean, we're probably gonna be, looking at how, I'm trying to think how to say this. We may just look at starting anew and doing it right from the get-go, since the time has passed. And I think the last I looked, about a third of the people came in and actually paid off delinquent taxes. So.
Good deal. Does anybody else have anything? Otherwise, we're probably going to adjourn.
I just thought I would mention I had a couple of scanners that I'm going to have to replace. They're
about $500 a piece, so
Okay,
I talked to Next Tech last week and they're getting me some quotes, so.
okay. When,
It'll be over the $500 order, so.
do you need a motion today, or do you want to wait until the next meeting on the 31st?
It's in my budget. Could I get a motion for up to $1,500 to replace that equipment?
And you, okay, he's got it in his budget, yeah,
Okay, I'll move you want him to do that.
for $1,500.
Exactly.
All those,
Two scanners.
Yes.
all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Does anybody else have anything else? Okay,
I move we adjourn.
okay, thank you guys for coming.
Well, that's